I want to talk about a better way that you can approach PR. It's a service that our team offers, but what we're actually going to talk about is how your business can internally take on this exact same PR practice that we do for clients and just start regularly getting cited in tier 1 publications like Forbes.
You're listening to Customer Growth Sessions, presented by Intergrowth, where we talk through strategies to help up-and-coming e-commerce businesses bring in more customers. I'm your host, Pat Ahern. Let's jump in.
All right, listeners, welcome back to the latest episode of Customer Growth Sessions. Just me in the studio today. We're doing another SEO short session. Today, I want to talk specifically about PR. Now, over the years, we've worked with quite a few different brands who have invested in some form of PR. The default, I would say, that those brands have experienced is something to the tune of paying for a year of services and over the course of that year, getting cited maybe in Forbes one time, and then every quarter on top of that, getting another like 1 to 2 press mentions from other like tier 2 publications. To me, that seems like a really crazy thing to invest in if you are anything less than maybe a $10 million a year brand. And even then, I still think it's really hard to justify that price point. So today, I want to talk about a better way that you can approach PR. It's a service that our team offers, but what we're actually going to talk about is how your business can internally take on this exact same PR practice that we do for clients and just start regularly getting cited in tier 1 publications like Forbes. So let's first talk about digital PR. I have 2 qualms when it comes to most digital PR. Qualm number 1 is that so much of digital PR is based on the premise of relationship building. Now, relationships, when it comes to like press mentions, link building, you name it, have their place and it carries a lot of weight. The issue becomes that when you are looking to get maybe a couple citations every single year, so much of what you're paying for is the relationships that maybe a journalist or one PR specialist at a PR firm has with one point of contact at a publication. So one, if that PR specialist leaves the PR firm, you're stuck footing the bill while the firm scrambles to try and find a new person. 2, if their point of contact at that major publication leaves, you're in the same boat, especially if that person takes a little bit of time to find their next role, they take some time off. So relationship building can be really powerful, but if all that you're paying for is relationships, it puts you in a really difficult place. Now, the second issue I have is so much of PR, understandably so, doesn't have any sort of guarantee of results behind it. Oftentimes these PR firms will come out and they'll say, hey, we're going to charge you X dollars a month. We're going to get you featured in a handful of publications, and the deliverables will be kind of vague. We have one client who dealt with a really big issue with this, where the PR firm, after about 6 months, hadn't delivered anything of value to them from what we could see. So we take a very different approach. What we have found to be extremely effective for brands is what I refer to as expert commentary PR. Now, the premise is pretty straightforward. Traditional PR or digital PR is very focused on reaching out to journalists, pitching them stories, finding interesting topic angles, and that can have its place. Expert commentary PR is far more passive. What it focuses on doing is identifying places that journalists are regularly looking for sources that they can cite in their stories and just becoming one of those sources. So, want to give you the DIY breakdown of how you can go about doing this. We've been able to do this to repeatedly get links for clients in a scalable and predictable manner across some of the biggest publications on the internet. So first thing that you're going to do, there's a whole bunch of different platforms like this that you can go to become one of these expert sources. A couple of my personal favorites, and check out the show notes. I'll share links to a bunch of these as well. But the big ones that I personally focus on are called Qwoted, HARO, sometimes known as Help a Reporter Out, and MentionMatch. Now, with these, all 3 platforms are going to function a little bit differently, but the overarching premise is the same. You sign up to be an expert source in topics that you're qualified to speak to. From there, you get a feed, whether it's via email or whether it's directly within their platform, of all of these different opportunities that come about every single day where journalists will be writing about topics that you're a qualified expert in. They'll have very specific questions. And what they're specifically looking for is experts in the space that they can quote and cite in their article to make it far more helpful for their readers. Scanning and building a process for consuming these opportunities and responding to these opportunities puts you in a position where you can become one, the person who does actually get cited in these individual like big name publications. Two, over time, you have an opportunity to build a genuine one-on-one relationship with these journalists who are regularly writing about topics that you're an expert in. And from there, to be cited far more regularly from these publications. So my recommendation is if you want to take the DIY approach, start by signing up for those three platforms, HARO, MentionMatch, and Qwoted. From there, set aside time every single week that you can sit down and respond to these queries. Now, we consistently see the best results when we respond to these queries very shortly after they come out each day or right before the submission deadline. We have a whole bunch of different content that we've put together over the years about some other best practices that are going to drive some really phenomenal results for you. One of the expectations that I like to set, though, for taking the DIY approach is that when you start out, your success rate is going to be a lot lower than it will be once you get comfortable with the process. So, for context, 2025, we looked back on our numbers. Our success rate when we normalize the data to remove the relationship generated links that'll skew our numbers a little upwards. So when we exclude that portion of results, our success rate for getting clients and getting our own business cited in publications came in at about 15%. Specifically, I think it was 14.9 if memory serves. So call it 15% success rate. That being said, we've been doing this process since 2021. So if you're starting out, what I would recommend is approach it with the mindset that you are going to land a pitch 5 to 10% of the time that you submit a response. So in other words, every 10 to 20 quotes that you provide is going to land you one link in one of these large name publications. I'd argue that's a really good use of many business owners' times or many head of marketing's times. But certainly that is a big time commitment, especially if you're taking 15 to 30 minutes to respond to these. What can work really effectively, though, is if you batch them out. So maybe you set aside an hour twice a week to respond to these types of quote opportunities and land some big name links from that. But I would approach it with that mindset. It is going to be a time commitment in order for you to drive results from this. That being said, this is the most predictable and scalable way that you can generate high quality press mentions and links for your business. Now, if that's not enough, obviously the SEO side of things is going to lead to some really significant gains. You're going to start ranking higher in search engines like Google when people directly go online searching for information about products and solutions that you provide. On top of that, though, these types of citations are one of the biggest things that LLMs look at for rankings. So if you're getting cited in these publications on a regular basis, you very quickly become the go-to brand that A, search engines, B, large language models are going to be recommending when your customers go online and search for information about you. Now, as stated before, expert commentary PR is something we've been doing in-house for 5 years. It's something that we're really good at. If you are really excited to get featured in some of these big name publications, but you can't make the time to submit all these quotes on a regular basis, reach out. Check out the link in the show notes to figure out the best way to get in touch with us, or just go to intergrowth.com/get-started. With that, I'll sit down with you, walk you through our exact process, some of the sample links that we've built just in the past couple of months, and we'll decide if it's the right fit for you. That's all we have for today. So again, check out the show notes to find a couple of those big publications that you can look to and subscribe to be submitting these pitches on behalf of your business on a regular basis. In the show notes, we're also going to share a couple of articles where we break down best practices for getting quoted and getting featured in these publications through the expert commentary PR methodology. And then again, if you're interested, Reach out. I'll show you exactly how we would handle this process for you and get you cited in all these big name publications without you needing to lift a finger.
Thanks for tuning in to Customer Growth Sessions. If you found it helpful, subscribe and give us a review. It helps us to grow the show. Looking for more SEO guidance on how to grow your business? Contact us at intergrowth.com/estimator or email me directly. You can reach me at pat@intergrowth.com. That's all for today. We'll see you again soon.